Hey everyone! Thank you for taking the time to join in with Uncommon Women Podcast, a dope podcast to bring light to reality from real life people sharing real life stories with a host of women having real life talk, the good and the bad, with no judgment. Uncommon Women's Loyalty is here to support those that need a safe space to speak their truth and rawness to the world. Tune in, relax, take notes, and let's vibe. Here are your hosts, Uncommon Women.
Good evening, everyone. This is Uncommon Women here, and I am Jenny Lee, your host this evening. And we have a powerful testimony. Natasha Bryant is a psychotherapist and a confident mindset coach who will be speaking on her testimony and how she helps others live an unapologetic life and how to love themselves. Hey, Natasha.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to hear your story. So before we get started, can you tell us a little bit about your childhood?
Yeah, when I think of my childhood, there's two words I think of: hardworking, because everything that anything that I wanted or needed, I had to work for it, right? Like my family was never the type that would just give. Like if I wanted something, I had to work for it in some form or capacity.
Yeah, you had to earn it. Yeah,
I had to earn it, right? And so that's one phrase that would, or a word that would come to mind. And because of that, people will often, like my peers, will often look at me as either spoiled or privileged because I would have access to things, not knowing that. No, this wasn't for free. Like I had to work for this.
Yeah,
like,
you had to work for it.
The reason why I have money when we go out is because I had to do allowance. Like this was not free. My mom just didn't give it to me. Like I had to work for that. So there was always this misconception growing up that I had it easy or I had this like privileged life, but nobody really understood the work behind the access or the resources that I had compared to when they're looking at their lives and like, well, I don't have that, or I don't have access to that, and not realizing like this wasn't free. Like this wasn't like
so
I just asked and I got it.
It was like jealousy. They was just jealous because they see you with all these material things, but knowing that behind all of that, you're over here earning it. You're working for it. It wasn't like it was just given to you.
Right. And I don't know if I would use the word. I mean, there were some, and I did, because I would get some moments of. I had some experience with, I mean, we didn't call it bullying back then, but if we're using the definition of bullying now, like there were times where I would get bullied by individuals because of the jealousy. But it was more of just like the privilege of like, you have it easy, right? Like, I don't know if envy was even the word, because I never really got that vibe, but it was just like this idea of what my life was, right? Like you have an easier life, or you have access to all these things that I don't get to have. And so your life is so much better, or your experience is so much better. It's like, well, I had to work. Like this was
and I totally get that.
Yeah.
But it's also think like, people always go by assumptions. So when assumptions, when they start to think those assumptions, I think that's where the envy comes in, and like the jealousy I mentioned. And I think that goes hand in hand, because like, even though we don't, see it as bullying, it is kind of, because I can imagine like you're over here walking in, with something that you earned, and they're just talking about you or trying to say things to you, which isn't, nice at all.
Yeah. And I think part of it was my family had the expectations of, not accepting less than, right? I had a grandmother who was college educated. She was a teacher. And then I had a grandfather who was an entrepreneur and owned his own business and owned the building that his business was in and had real estates and all these other things. So because of that, I was around a mindset of the expectations of living to a higher standard and not accepting anything less, to the point where, my mom, she would set expectations for me, and not where it's like, oh, this is expectation, and, like helping, coaching me to it, or coddling me to get there. It's like, no, this expectation and you better reach it. And if you don't, this is going to be the consequence, right? So growing up, it was like, I hate my mama's so mean, right? You think of your parent as like this mean parent. But even as I was getting older, I would see that because my mom pushed me in that way, I would end up having access to things that I saw friends and families that have access. So I was able to be in spaces that other people weren't able to be in spaces. Like I end up being the only brown person. But then also seeing that because my friends or family didn't have that same level of push, they were in spaces that didn't have the same level of resources or opportunities, which didn't let them not being able to have access to different things.
Okay. So even though your mom had these high expectations from you, how did it make you feel? Did you feel like you were never gonna accomplish our expectations? Did it ever did it even as a child, did it give you any insecurities? Did you feel any depression or low self-esteem?
For sure, it was this level of pressure of like, how am I going to do it? Like, I remember I was entering high school and I picked my courses. I was going to do like certain courses. I was going to be like college prep. And then the other two were going to be general ed, because the college prep, I knew I can achieve. I can do that at college prep level. But these other two courses, math and science, we're going to keep that general ed. We're going to keep that basic because I know I can succeed in that. And my mom was like, no, you're taking all college prep courses and you better pass. And I was looking at her like, this lady is crazy. I'm telling her that I'm not going to be able to pass. And she's saying, not only am I forced, you're going to do it, you better pass on top of that, right? And then when I end up entering it, end up not being as bad as it was. But I never told her that because I was like, she's not going to win this one. But it ended up not being as bad as it was. But there would be times where I would feel like, I don't know if I could achieve at that level, but because she pushed me, then I found out like, oh, I actually can achieve that level. So if I went by my own insecurities, I probably wouldn't even be where I am right now. But because I had somebody pushing me saying, no, you can do more, right? You are worth more. You should require more of you. And you better achieve at this level, right? It forced me to come out of my comfort zone and push myself to do more, which then showed me that I can do more.
Because your mama see the potential in you. I think as mothers, we see, as mothers, because I have children, I have young adult children, we see that for our children, well, for me, like I wasn't raised guided and being pushed and all of that. So I made sure that when I had my children, I had high expectations. I mean, I pushed them, but I mean, luckily I raised my kids, they never lacked anything. So they had the resources, and because I taught them that, I guided them into that. And that is great that your mom did that for you, that she was trying to show you to get out of your comfort zone. Like, I know you can do this. And we as moms need, like, depending on the expectations, because I know some of them can be overwhelming and depending on how the parent is, but I could tell that your mom was very genuine in doing that to you, and look at you now.
Yeah. And I was definitely someone that didn't, part of the insecurities too is I didn't really speak up for myself. Like I often, in spaces with peers, if I did speak up, it was passive. Hoping that someone would accept the no the first time that I said it, right? But if they said it more than once, it was like, oh, well, and then I would end up giving in. So I end up definitely, when we talk about other areas of like the insecurities, I definitely end up being in spaces that I really didn't want to be in, but I end up being in them because I didn't feel comfortable, really being confrontational, right? Or speaking up and advocating for myself in that way. But I was able to push myself in like goal setting and reaching goals. But when it came to like advocating or speaking up, that's where my insecurities definitely were the strongest in those areas.
So do you think that it's because you were just like afraid what others would say or think about you at that point?
For sure. Okay. Yeah, no, for sure. It was definitely fear of conflict, right? The fear of having a conflict, the fear of getting into a fight, right? The fear of the rejection, right? That was definitely part of it for sure.
Okay. So can you go back on those expectations of, you know, going into college and your mom pushing you into pushing you, and, you know, obviously you've done well for yourself. What pushed you and motivated you to become a social worker?
Yeah, I would say, like I was saying before about seeing those two different spaces, like being, because I was pushed, I was able to have access to this spaces where I was the only brown person, or maybe one other person, right? And then I would see, then I would be in spaces where it's all of us that look alike, and not, and those are like with expectation of those are low or mediocre, and and I saw the difference, right? And how that would lead to our own like way of thinking about what we can and cannot do, and how it was like causing us to fall into the stereotypes of like what Black and brown people can do. And so I knew when I got introduced to social work, I knew that was the direction I wanted to go in. I wanted to help my community just break those generational cycles, break those statistics and those barriers that was already placed on us before we even became an adult. It was already placed on us as kids, right? And so for me, I felt like the best place for me to be able to be somebody else's push, because I recognized, you know, definitely as I got further into high school, I recognized that push is what has helped me get to where I was able to be, and to be able to be in those different spaces. I wanted to be that push for somebody else. And so I felt like working in schools would be the best way that I can show up in that way, and help individuals go beyond what the world is saying they can do. And so that's what helped me or introduced me into wanting to become a social worker.
I love that. I love that how you said, you know, like you being like the only brown person, and then like, you know, you seeing how others were going forward towards it. And then like, you're like, I'm going to do this for myself and for my people. And I'm going to fight for us. I'm going to make sure we have a voice. I'm going to advocate for them. You know, a lot of people are afraid to do that because they feel they're going to be teared down. And I love that how you didn't back down from that, and you did it, and you did it. So how does it feel to be able to live out your passion every single day?
You know, I mean, it's 3 years, and I just opened up my practice in 2021. And so, I'm still a lot of times in awe that I'm actually doing this, because this was not my plan. My plan was, you know, we always have plans.
Yeah.
We all have a plan, right? My plan initially was to work in a school full time, right?
Okay.
And then do work as a therapist part-time, eventually in a private practice, and then retire in a private practice, not my own, but somebody else's private practice as a therapist, maybe 2 other private practices. That was my whole vision. And then when I got to that point where I was going to leave the schools full time and then go to private practice full time, I was thinking about, okay, well, where do I want to apply? Who do I want to apply to? And God literally said to me, girl, why are you about to give somebody else a percentage of your coins and your worth when you could take through a whole 100%? And I was like, God, you know what? You're right. Why am I about to do that? And that literally was in October of 2020. And then I just went full speed ahead and decided to open up my own private practice. Like literally, it was like literally spur of the moment decision. And then I took classes and courses on how to start a business. And then I officially had my LLC in December of 2020, but I opened up in 2021 and saw my first client in March of 2021. So I'm still like, because it was not a plan, I'm still surprised of the way God is showing me my purpose and my gifts that he's showing that I didn't even know I had, the creativity that I didn't realize I had. Like there's so many things that he's revealing to me about myself through this whole process that lets me know that I'm definitely doing what he created me to do.
Yeah. Well, that's how God works. You know, he likes to show out, girl. He likes to show out.
He likes to show up and show out.
Yeah, yes, he does. You know, and sometimes like even though we make our own plans and he comes up and he just swoops and he's like, nope. That's not what I'm telling you to do. I want you to do this, you know? So I totally feel you when you're like, oh, you know, I didn't know my creativity and all of that, you know? So when he does those things, you're just like, man, I didn't even know I could do this myself. But it's so amazing in how he works in us and how he shows us, like, because he wants more for us. He wants us to step out out of our comfort zone, because we get so used to doing things a certain way and making these plans. You want us to just be a teacher, and and all of a sudden now you have this whole business and you're helping others, and you're just like, is this really happening?
Right. Yeah. And even what you just said about being the pusher, I mean, that's like what you just saying that was, connected that to what we were just talking about, my mom being a pusher, and how he put her in my life, and my grandparents, and just that my family in my life, to push me to be at a place where I could confidently be like, yeah, we about to do that thing. We gonna, the whole work hard mentality I've always had. Like, if you work hard, you put your, you follow the steps, you work hard, not necessarily follow the steps, but you work hard and really put your energy into it, you can make it happen. And so I, just seeing how he was planting those seeds way back when I was just a teenager, and like showing up even now as an adult.
Don't you love when he does that? It's just so amazing. Like, give glory to God for that, because sometimes we could be in a good place, and a good place, and a good space, and then sometimes we don't give him enough credit on that, because of where he shows us and where he leads us, and sometimes we tend to forget about that. But I am thankful. I am thankful. It's definitely, we have to be thankful for that every niche, and then you're able to live out your passion. That's what you're doing now, and helping others, which is so amazing. So as you coming into what you're doing now, what is my question for you? So can you explain to me what you do in that process when you're working in the firm?
Yeah. So my private practice is located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's all online. So I see, as a psychotherapist, I see clients for mental health therapy. So I see individuals, I see teens 14 and up, and I also do couples therapy as well. And then on the coaching aspect of it, as a confidence mindset coach, I provide coaching to women who are just at a transitional period in their life where they're ready to finally really redefine who they are, so they can really step into the woman that God created them to be, and really live the life that they desire. Because so many times we put other people first, or we don't think about who we are or what we want. And this woman is at a place like, what, I'm done putting myself last. I'm ready to put myself first. I'm ready to live out my dreams. And that's what my coaching services are all about.
Okay. So as far as your firm, you said you work with couples. What is the common issue you have noticed from couples seeking premarital counseling these days?
Yeah. So I specialize in premarital counseling. That's the type of couples I usually work with. And the common factor I'm often seeing is really the focus on meeting milestones instead of really focusing on creating a strong foundation. A lot of times they're coming to me because they're either at a place in their life, we've been together for X amount of years, and I'm ready to marry, but my partner is not, or I want to get married, but we're not there yet, or I'm at a certain age, everybody's around me. Like these a lot of times these milestones, these expectations that we've been together for 7 years or plus, so that means we should be married by now, right? Because that's a long time, right? Or as a female, it's like, well, I'm X age, everybody's getting married around me, and I feel like at this point I should be getting married at this time, right? So there's like these milestones that are often the that's one thing, the milestone. The other one is communication. There is there's this misunderstanding of what that the compromise looks and sounds like, right? It's like I have this idea of what I'm expecting in this relationship, and I want my partner to understand what the expectation is, and then adhere to that expectation, not in a controlling way, but just like, this is what I need from you, and this is how I need for you to show up, right? But not considering the other person's feelings or expectations, and like working that in together. Like, how can we bring both of what we want as one, so that we can both be satisfied, so we can both feel like our needs are being met? A lot of it is, this is what I need, and my partner's not giving that to me, and that's the end of the conversation, which then leads to the conflict, because there's no compromising happening within how can we make this work together for us, not just for you, not just for me, but for us. So that's the second thing I would say is like the most common challenge that couples usually end up facing in that stage.
Okay. So how long does these courses take? How long do they take? Is it depending on the couple, on how much effort they put into it, or can it take like a month, a year? I mean, I'm assuming, depending on how much effort they put into it. I'm just going off because I don't know.
Yeah,
you're
the
the coach here, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, so the premarital counseling is on a therapy and it's not coaching, and so therapy in general is the timeline is the individual, right?
Okay.
It's really where the individual is at, like their starting point, their baseline. So individual and or couples, where their baseline is at, right, and where they're trying to go, right?
All right.
If their goal is, whatever their goal is, if they're pretty far from that goal, because where they're starting at is pretty far from reaching that overall arching goal, then therapy is going to take some time to get there, because there's some work. There's a lot of work. There's some uncovering and rediscovering that is needed to be able to get officially to the goal that they want to reach. So it really is case by case. There isn't any like set time frame. But as therapists, one thing that we do is we do check in at least I do. I can speak for myself. I check in every 3 to 4 months to see, okay, where are we at, right? Like we set these goals, because by the second session, we will set treatment plan goals, which is like a roadmap to determine what are we working on, what are we focusing on therapy. And so by the within 3 to 4 months, then we would go back to that plan. Where are we at? Did we achieve any of the goals? Are the goals even still relevant? Because now that you've been doing work and you've been doing some healing, what you thought you wanted to work on, is that even still what you want to work on, right? How therapy is going. And that's a good check-in point to see where we at and what therapy is going to look like, as we continue. So it really is case by case.
Okay. So can you provide the first 3 steps of a person that's taken part in healing in their life calls from the past or present from trauma?
Yeah, I would say, the first 3 steps is, and this is something that can be done in therapy. It's much more helpful in therapy, but if someone was trying to do it on their own, right, you can still, attempt to do it on your own.
Okay.
One is allowing yourself to face and acknowledge the feelings and thoughts that's connected to the trauma.
Okay.
And that's why I said therapy can be helpful, because if that becomes too overwhelming, then having a therapist can help you walk through that process. But many times in trauma, we're trying to escape having to think about it and relive it and process it, right? We just store it in the back of our minds and hope to never have to experience it again, or thinking that because we've masked it in so many different ways, we'll never have to experience. But it comes back up. Those feelings come back up in other ways, right? Okay. So first is acknowledging that, allowing yourself to acknowledge the feelings and the thoughts that is experienced with that, and then being able to second part will be allowing yourself to then go through, process those feelings, whether it's through journaling, vlogging, but allowing yourself to really start thinking about, okay, why do I feel this way? How has this impacted my life? What is some ways that I want to change or rediscover as a result of this experience? Really allowing yourself to really process and heal. That's where that healing is coming from too, is understanding how it impacted your life and how you want to move forward as a result of it. And then the third and final, because you got to do those things in order to get to the third one. And I want to say this is the final step, but this is, if I had to pick the top 3, the third step I would say is forgiveness. But you gotta, in order to be able to forgive, first you gotta do your own internal healing first.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. You gotta work. You gotta do the inner work. Without the inner work, it's like you can't just say I forgive and not do the inner work. And I could totally relate to that, because forgiving someone is like you're doing that for you, not for them.
Right. Exactly. And so the forgiveness piece is very key, because if you're still holding, you recognize I'm angry. You did that process. I recognize I'm angry. I'm recognizing there's some bitterness there. I'm recognizing I feel rejected or abandoned, whatever those emotions are. And if you're not allowing yourself to then understand where that's coming from, or who you might still be upset with, or also not just forgiving the other person, but for yourself too, because there might be some shame and blame towards yourself that you're feeling, and so forgiving yourself as well. If you're not able to reach that place of forgiveness, then you're going to be holding on to those emotions, and you're going to get stuck in them. It's going to be much harder to go through them and let them go if you're choosing not to forgive, right? Because when you're choosing not to forgive, you're saying, this person or this thing does not deserve. It's like more of like a revengeful thing. Like, not unforgiveness is like a little bit of a revengeful thing. Like, this person hurt me, so they need to hurt like I am. So me not forgiving them is like me feeling good about them still hurting as a result of it. When, like you said, it's really about you, because that person's living their lives. They're not really worried about you. You're the only one that's left still feeling resentful or feeling hurt or abandoned. But when you forgive, you allow yourself to let that go and say, you know what, I'm choosing peace. Like, I'm ready to let this go so I can move on and evolve.
Definitely. So when you started, you did talk about how you came into your purpose and helping these couples and helping, can you let us know, like, can you speak on how you help these women or men? I'm gonna say men because some men can always use some advice as well.
yeah.
On how to live unapologetic, an unapologetic life, and and to love themselves.
Yeah, my coaching program services is all about that, right? I have a monthly membership called the Unapologetic Circle, and it's all about helping women be able to let go of that fear and doubt that's stopping them from living unapologetically. So I would say that is the big key for me of how I help women, is helping them work through what has been, whatever self-doubt, right? Whatever fear is holding them back from just showing up as their true selves. Because unapologetic living is a form of freedom, but you can't be free if you're holding back because you are worried about the fear, the judgment of others, or you're worried about failing, or you're worried about making mistakes, or you're worried about not being accepted, or you're worried about not being enough, right? Or this fear of experiencing any of those things, right? The what is, or what will happen, or the unknown, right? All those things will stop you from like taking that risk of applying for that job, or starting your own business, right? Or starting a podcast, or whatever that is, that dream that you have. Those fears and those doubts will stop you from doing that. Those fears and doubts will stop you from showing up in spaces as your true self. Like, I don't want to say too much, or I don't want to show up as this, or I want to make sure I'm dressed a certain way. Like, you end up having all these expectations that are not realistic for yourself to meet, to really protect yourself from the fear of the unknown that could possibly happen as a result of you taking that risk of being unapologetic. And so I would say that is definitely the things that I work on, especially within my program, is helping women figure out who they are. Who's the version of yourself that you want to become, right? What exactly do you want? What are your goals? What are your dreams? What are your passions? Do you know what they are? Helping women figure out what that is, because many times we don't know, because we never thought about ourselves. We're always still thinking about other people, right? What do I truly want, right? What is that I truly want? And what does that life look like that I want to live? So knowing who you are and who you want to become, your own personal brand, what kind of life you want to live, what does that look like? And then the how do I then execute that? How do I have a mindset, undefeated confident mindset that will help me push through and achieve and go after that life and become that person, regardless of what anybody says about it, regardless if I fail or make a mistake, regardless if things don't work out, right? How do I stay confident in my abilities to keep going? How do I persevere? How do I stay ambitious? How do I keep that grit? How do I walk boldly in all of it, in spite of what the world is saying to me as I'm achieving and going after what I want in life? So that's what it looks like, working with me and how I help women.
I love that. I love how you do that, because the world we live in, there's so many expectations. It's from our parents, family, friends, the job place, people we don't even know. that makes it hard for us to like really try to walk out in our purpose, or because we get so much self-doubt, in ourselves. And then we know what we want to do. We know what we need to do, but sometimes we don't even, we know how, but just don't know how. Does that make sense?
No, it totally makes sense. It's like, how, but you still feel stuck on, okay, well, what is the first step? Right. And it's not that you, like you said, it's not that you don't know what the first step is. It's just taking the risk of that step.
Yeah.
Because that first step is risky.
It is.
Because you're stepping into the unknown. So it's like, how do I take that leap? Well, part of it is getting past that fear and that doubt that's telling you to hesitate, to procrastinate, right? That's causing you to compare yourself to other people. Yeah.
Yeah, because I could definitely relate to that. I used to be one of those people. So it's not an easy, but it takes heart. It takes putting yourself first, because and again, the world, everyone's always putting themselves last and second, because they got families, they got children,
they got everything.
They're putting everything. Yeah, they're putting everything above themselves, and it's just like, and then they wonder, and I think sometimes that's where the doubt, the insecurity, and I'm never gonna be enough, or I'm not gonna be able to do this, or they put up so many excuses that well, I can't do that because of this, or I can't do that because I don't have the money, and I could say, I mean, you probably heard it all. So but like you said, it just takes that step to take a leap of faith. And even, and I think sometimes even doing it while you are afraid is taking that leap.
Yes. I say there's a phrase I use called "do it scared." I love it. I say it all the time.
I love that.
Because, one thing I teach my clients is not making your feelings facts, right? You might feel scared, but that doesn't mean that it is a scared situation or you can't do it scared, right? A lot of times we say, I can't do it because I'm scared. Well, no, that you feel scared. That doesn't mean you actually physically can't do it, right? And so it's like you can do it scared. Just because you are feeling scared doesn't mean you can't do it. And it's like doing it scared is allowing yourself to take the energy of the fear that you're feeling in your body, because our feelings are just different types of energy. That energy you're feeling in your body, that fearful energy that you're feeling, you can allow it to be fearful to the point where you can use it to be to paralyze you and not move at all, right?
Yeah.
Or you can use that energy to motivate you and drive you to do it. Using that's where you get the butterflies in the stomach, or you're feeling excited, or the nervous energy, and you're doing it anyway. That's just fear, but we just call it something different. The adrenaline that's pumping up, and like I love to do it. I'm an adrenaline junkie. That's just fear. It's just using a different way. It's just a different way that someone is using that energy of fear that they're experiencing.
Okay, I have my question for you is like, do you think people generally do a lot of things out of their emotions just to not do something?
Yeah. I was just today, I saw a client today, and I was literally just talking to her about, not making a permanent or long-term decision off of a temporary emotion. So often we feel it, and that goes back to what I was saying about making feelings facts. And that's how the thought of making or the thought process, the automatic thought that causes us to make our feelings facts impacts us, because we feel a certain way and we get so caught up in that energy of that emotion that it ends up impacting how we see the situation.
Yeah.
Right. And then we end up believing that, with this client I was talking to her about, she was feeling really disappointed about her decisions and something that she made, but then also disappointed that things weren't working out. And because of that, she then began to feel low and down about herself and feeling really low and depressed. And I was telling her how, because she was feeling disappointed, she then believed that she was now a disappointment.
Wow.
And because of that, she started making decisions as if she is a disappointment. I don't want to go anywhere. I'm really upset with myself. I don't even want, then she started making decisions based on this idea that I am a disappointment. And it's like, well, no, you're not a disappointment. You just feel disappointed. And that's true. Like, earn that. You can definitely, express your emotions, acknowledge your emotions. I feel disappointed. That's a true emotion. That's what you're experiencing. But don't allow that emotion to then become facts about your situation.
Wow. Wow. I'm even in awe on that because, like, I mean, it kind of like makes me think, like, I've done that before.
Yeah. It's making feelings facts really like ends up changing your whole perspective of the situation. And mind you, the feeling is not going to last but a couple hours, maybe a couple days, but it's going to go away, right?
Yeah.
But that decision you made, that the outcome of that decision is not going to go away.
No,
the outcome of your decision is permanent, right? And so you don't want to end up making those decisions that then you're like, you're looking back now that you're clear, your mind is clear, you're no longer in that type of state, that emotional state. You're like, Dad, why did I even do that?
Yep.
Why did I make that decision?
Yeah.
Then you have the regret.
Yep. Then you have that regret and you're just like, damn, man, why did I do that when I wasn't even, I wasn't even in the right state of mind. I was going off my feelings and I went, I did that. Now it's something I have to suffer with or deal with probably for the rest of your life because, you know, I mean, we all make mistakes. That's where we learn from our mistakes or what makes us grow and grow into our character, because that way to make us better, you know, because we have to think. I feel like I think the biggest thing is we have to think before we process anything, because I think that's important because like you said, I mean, we go by our feelings, we make rush decisions, and sometimes that's not good. You know, you have to think and put thought. I mean, like I usually make myself sit down or I pray about it. You know, I'll sit about it. I'll think about it long term. I'm like, what is best for myself? What is this going to be something for? If this is going to be a good thing for me in the process, am I going to benefit from this? Is it going to take my peace, or is it anything that's going to try to come? I want something to come out good from the decision that I'm making, because you know, I don't want to go into something and it's just like for nothing and then I'm regretting it. So that's a big thing. We have to think before we do anything. Rash decisions aren't always good either. Period.
Yeah, that stop and think is crucial. You know, the Bible talks about be slow to speak, or be quick to anger, not be quick to anger. You know, all of that is real, because when we're just quick to just respond off our emotions, like we said, those long-term impacts, and or then you have to clean up your mess, right? You end up making a decision that makes things messy that didn't have to be messy. And now either you leave the mess as it is because your own pride might get in the way, like I'm just gonna leave it how it is. I'm not even gonna say sorry. I'm not gonna like try to fix it, right? I'm just gonna like eat what I just did, right? Or you realize like, dang, I gotta clean up this mess. Like I did a whole to-do, and now people's feelings were hurt, or now I look crazy. So let me clean up my mess. Let me apologize. Or let me go back. You know, let people know where I was coming, you know, whatever that is. And sometimes, and that's humbling. You gotta be at a place where you're right, be humble in that state of recognizing I made a mistake and I need to fix the mistake that I made, you know?
Wow. Yeah. So Natasha, what inspires you most in anything that you've done in your whole life?
Oh, what inspires me most? I would say I absolutely love to travel. My grandmother opened my eyes to traveling. She traveled all the time, and I've always wanted to see the world. And I get inspired by other cultures. I get inspired by being in other spaces, being around people that are different from me, and just learning from different traditions. And that often inspires me because that helps me get out of my own world, helps me to be informed about what else is going on outside of my own little box, right?
Yeah.
And it also shows me there's so much more to this life outside of my day-to-day, right? And so I'm inspired to work hard. I'm inspired to push myself, and one of the reasons why I wanted this I wanted to own my own practice because I wanted to work from anywhere lifestyle, because I wanted to be able to travel and work at the same time and not have to be bound to an office or to one space, which is why I do online services. And so traveling, it motivates me on a regular basis with the decisions I make and the things that I do in my life, for sure.
That's so awesome. That is so great because, nobody wants to be tied down to a job, and sometimes we have to because it's just so, but you don't have to. You can just change. You can make that change.
Right.
If you want to do something, go ahead and do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that is so great. I love because I love how you're like, well, I could still enjoy a vacation and still work. Listen, you gotta get me on that too.
Listen, yes, that's what. Listen, that was that was just something I always envisioned, right? But I didn't think it was possible, only because like I saw on TV back when Skype just first came out, and they were like Skype therapy, and I was like, and they were on the West Coast, they were doing that. I'm like, oh, if I could do something like that where I could just see clients, wherever I'm at, I can meet with a client, but it wasn't regulated. And then COVID happens, and then it became a whole thing. Telehealth became a whole thing. And I was like, oh, I'm jumping on this bandwagon, right? So yeah, but again, that was after God downloaded on me that I should be jumping on this bandwagon. So, but yeah, so then initially, I was like, oh, this is definitely what helped me reach my goals. But I mean, the leap of faith was real. I took a crazy leap of faith leaving a job that I did not plan on leaving, and with no safety net. God was telling me it's time for you to go, and so I was leaving. And I just figured, he's telling me to go, then he's gonna catch me when I jump. Like, I'm not gonna fall on my face. But that was a huge leap of faith, and that was one of the things too that motivated me to even do more like that unapologetic living, because I'm seeing for myself how the more I've become unapologetic, the more freedom I feel, to be honest. There's like a whole level of freedom that unapologetic living gives you, that, I'm not afraid to show up as who I am. I'm not sorry for showing up as who I am. Like in the past, when I told you I would silence my voice.
Yeah.
Part of it is because people would say that I'm too upfront, or I'm too blunt, or I'm too, I could be too abrasive, and so I would just keep my voice silent. And then, as I got older and became in my adulthood, I became more vocal, and I still would get little comments like, Tasha, the sassy one. Like, you would get little comments to be funny, but also it was like a dig, right?
Yeah.
Because I would speak up freely. And it's even a point where, even in work environments, I, end up getting some heat for like advocating for ethical standards and expectations, because I'm holding up to my own standards. But the more unapologetic I became, the more confident I was. Like, I know what I'm doing. I know what I want. I know my values, and I'm standing up for that. And if somebody doesn't like it, that's okay. Doesn't define who I am. And so that's what I'm trying to help women to be at that. All women. Like, I want this to be a worldwide type of thing where women are just living their lives freely, and not having anything hold them back.
I love that. Can you tell us where we can find you with your business?
Yeah, so I'm my website is speaklifetransformation.com. I'm also on Instagram at Speak Life Transformation, TikTok Speak Life Transformation, Facebook at Living Speak Life. And also, if anybody wants to have, I'm offering a free mini course where that would give you all these tips about how to get unstuck. We were just talking about being stuck, how to get unstuck so that you can start pursuing your dreams and living your life unapologetically. And so if you're interested in getting access to that free course, go to speaklifetransformation.com, click the banner at the top on the homepage, and then you'll immediately be able to get access.
I love that. Thank you so much for just like your gems, for just speaking and everything. I'm gonna go see if we have any comments from the audience. Because so we have a question. We ask all our guest speaker. What makes you uncommon?
What makes me uncommon? I would say the fact that I live by the mantra Speak Life. That's why I even created my business after Speak Life. And I've gotten that from in the biblical sense of, whatever I speak will come back around, and we'll go out and become life, right? And so that is something that I truly believe in. And what I say, what I speak, what God has given to me, I'm trusting that he will take that and make it become what it is. And I speak with confidence in what I want. And I move forward. You know, I say speak life and live with, and walk with intention. So I speak life and then also walk with intention, expecting it to come to fruition. So that's something that definitely makes me uncommon.
I love it. I love it. That is so amazing. Thank you so much again, Natasha, for your story and just throwing your gems out there, and in hopes, people, there's people that have the same story, familiar stories, and hope someone can take back and take heed to what you have spoken on this evening. And thank you again so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. I want to speak on our business. Our business proposal, if you or anyone that is wants to grow their business, you can email us at uncommonwomenpodcast@gmail.com, as well as if you're looking for, if you or someone that wants to come on our platform to speak on any of your testimonies, you can also, again, look on the screen for the email that I have put up there. And make sure you check out our Girl Guru for Motivational Mondays. She is definitely and very inspiring. Thanks, Tara, for your Motivational Mondays. And make sure you check in next week for another powerful testimony. And stay uncommon.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you've been shacking up with us for a while and haven't subscribed to our channel, what are you waiting for? Please like and subscribe to Uncommon Woman so you won't miss another episode. And remember, don't let anything or anyone affect your peace. Good vibes and stay uncommon.